Hello and welcome to the Shack News Chattycast, the podcast that's all aboard the hype train. I'm your host, Steve Watts. With me this week, Ozzy Mejia.
All right, so whoever had 1101 in the pool, collect your winnings. Congratulations, the winner.
That was so close to 2. I think it's a wash. I think it counts. That was so close. Brian Carr, Dr. Games.
Woo woo!
As I mentioned, this is the Chattycast. If you haven't listened to the Chattycast before, here's how it works. Every week, Ozzy starts a thread in the Shack News Chatty, asks for topics. You guys suggest some, and then we pick some out and we chat about them. So Chattycast. This week, we're going to have an extended E3 segment, pre-3, whatever you want to call it, the night before E3 and all through the house, because obviously that's the big thing that's happening in games right now. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about what we are playing. Ozzy, what is occupying your time lately?
Absolutely nothing at the moment, just because it's been all E3
What
preparation
time?
all the time. Really, at this point, the only thing I can talk about at length is my Hearthstone, which is actually going pretty well. I hit rank 15 late last night, so good on me for doing that. I got a Pally daily quest, so I just kind of got on a roll, just kind of kept going. I actually got a Sneed's Old Shredder about a week ago, and that's been kind of fun to actually.
That's a fun one to experiment with, yeah. I had a horrible night last night. I went like 0-3 in an arena run, and then I dropped like 2 ranks and ranked. I was like, this is not my night.
I had a situation last night where I had a Sneeds out by himself, and on the next turn I played Blessing of Kings, upped it 4/4, and then played Faceless Manipulator. So I suddenly had two 9/11 Sneeds on the board, and I go, yeah, this is
so much random legendaries coming out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good place to call it a night.
Yeah, it's always frustrating. One of the arena 3 arena games in a row that I lost, I was already losing. Like I was already like well on my way to losing, and then the guy like breaks out a Sneeds, and I'm like, you drafted a fucking Sneeds. like that's what I was like. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, and the only other game I've been playing right now is I'm still on Puzzle and Dragon Super Mario Edition, which I'm on World 6, and it actually started to get a little clever at the end, where, I don't know, like Roy Koopa wouldn't take damage at all. Like, he was actually kind of a wall, and I go, wait, what am I supposed to do here? And I kind of lucked into it, because I was playing a King Bill, and one of the King Bill's abilities is it reduces defense to 0 for 1 turn. So I played that ability, and it was a one-hit kill.
Oh.
So it's one of those like puzzles within a puzzle kind of thing.
That is clever. I mean, like, are you finding that the puzzles kind of have solutions like that? Because I've heard some people talking about how the difficulty spikes up like really extreme.
It's hard. This is one of those games that I expected to be done with in a weekend. No, it's grindy. Like you're gonna be on this for a while, and it's a puzzle game, so I don't mind it too much. It's great for when you're waiting in line at the DMV, which I have to do in a couple weeks. But yeah, it's surprisingly tough, and it makes me wonder how much harder Puzzle and Dragon Z is going to be whenever I eventually get to that.
Is that like? I mean, do they tell you like, hey, Mario is the easier version, and then Puzzle and Dragon Z is the...
They actually say up front that for newer players, go with Super Mario first, and I think that's because of the way that the levels are designed. I think it's just because of the linear nature of it.
Yeah, and they're easing people into the whole concept, I'm sure, with like, oh, these are characters in sort of iconography that you recognize.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Well, I played the mobile version of Puzzle and Dragons. How does this compare? So I in theory, I like the game, but a lot of the stuff, the grindiness, the evolutionary trees and stuff like that, kind of pushed me out of the mobile game.
And a lot of that stuff is still there. Like, a lot of the
Right.
evolutionary trees are there for, like, a bunch of the Mario characters. Like, you upgrade your Goomba to a Paragoomba. The most recent one I got was a Wiggler, and I upgraded him to a Flutter, and then a Flutter with a Chain Chomp. And it just kind of goes in that direction. There's a lot of metagame to this, which is really kind of surprising. And then from there, when you get to each individual level, it'll tell you, okay, you're running into these enemies, and they're these element types, and you kind of have to plan out for it. You have to line up your team carefully, because if you don't, then you're gonna get rocked. If you hit a bonsai bill at an airship, and you're not ready for it, like you're cooked. Like that thing will take you out in like one hit. So it's kind of
wait. Okay, refresh my memory. a Bonsai Bill, and Mario Cannon. Is that the really big bullet bill?
That's a really big one, and
Okay.
apparently there's a bigger one called the King Bill.
The Atomic Bill.
Exactly.
So Ozzy has actually been playing much more.
Just Cooper looking out at the horizon, saying, "We have become Death Destroyer for us."
just Doomsday Bill.
In the form of a Mario mushroom. Yeah, I know Ozzy has been playing other games that he cannot talk about, and that we'll be talking about, in the nearest future.
Although I did go hands-on with Battleborn, which you can read about right now at Shack News.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, well, you have played Battleborn, and now, since our impressions are up, the embargo's up. What can you tell us? Give us a quick synopsis. Tease your article. Give us a little bit of insight of what is Battleborn like? What's the gist?
It feels like hyperactive Borderlands. Like it looks a lot like Borderlands right down to the art style, but it's meant to go a lot faster in the sense that each individual mission and each individual competitive session starts you at level 1. Like you start from scratch every time, and you max out at 10. And as you go and as you level up, you get to pick between one of 2 abilities. It's a MOBA level system.
Yeah, I was about to say so. It's a MOBA shooter.
Yeah, exactly. So
Borderlands and MOBA.
So you have different
Sorry if you're
layouts.
planning on announcing that, Gearbox.
Yes. So you have different layouts for just about every level, and they're supposed to have 25 playable characters. So it's very MOBA-like in that sense. But the shooting mechanics and the whole loot thing, that's pure Borderlands right there. So they're playing to their strengths while also kind of going a little bit riskier. And I think I'm leaning more towards Battleborn because I don't have the time investment for something like Borderlands. I don't, as much as I want to get into it, I don't have the exact time to level something up to 50. So
yeah, the
grindiness
of those raid bosses is ridiculous after a while.
Yeah, so something like Battleborn that can let me just go from start to finish with level and just level up all the way in one go. That's pretty cool. And
I think that's kind of why MOBAs have caught on in the first place, right? It's
right.
It starts fresh every time. So as long as you personally just have the skill to play your class, you don't need to be grinding.
And they're sticking with that MOBA aesthetic all the way to the player count, because you can go up to 5 players for co-op. So they definitely want to have every part of the MOBA checklist checked off, and I think it actually kind of works.
Are there lanes? Are there lanes and things to?
There are no lanes. It's your basic Borderlands level design, but everything else on the MOBA checklist is pretty much there, and I'm kind of liking it. I want to see where it goes next.
Jungling and such. Speaking of MOBAs, I feel like this segues neatly into something that I know Brian has been playing. Brian, I've heard people call Splatoon a MOBA, which strikes me as insane. And I know you've been playing a lot of Splatoon. So let's talk about its MOBA-ness or lack thereof.
All right, so first off, I'm no expert on MOBAs. I think I've got Heroes of the Storm installed on my Surface here. It doesn't run it well, but I'm probably going to play around with that later. But I've also tried out Smite on the Xbox One, so I know a little bit of how these things work. I don't get that at all.
It sounded like it's any territory control counts as a MOBA now.
But so yes, it's absolutely territory control, but there's no. The goal is not to destroy something. It's not to work through defenses. It's not to work through mobs or something like that and destroy a central a point, right? Like a base. Mm-hmm. You're just painting everything. That's. I don't get the MOBA part of that at all.
Yeah, I think people are looking for a way to classify it, though. Because it's not quite a shooter either, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the whole MOBA thing is kind of silly, but I think it's born out of this, we don't know what to call this thing because it's not a shooter.
But maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't need to have a name for it.
Maybe genres can mean more than shooting each other in the head.
That's the whole new thing. That's okay too.
Here's what I find interesting about Splatoon from a conceptual standpoint. It's that it is a competitive game, but what you're doing is not you splat the other team, whatever. But the goal is less that as it is to create art, to color the world. You are competing to essentially create this sort of Jackson Pollock-esque procedural art. And maybe that's really overselling it, but I don't know, and that's why I think you can't really classify that anywhere else. It's very much its own thing. even though it has a lot of the same sort of tropes and ideas, like there's the sniper weapon, there's the rapid fire weapon.
But it feels like all that was born out of the original game concept is, what if we have a game where you're both trying to cover as much area as you can with ink? And wasn't it like, I think I read somewhere that the original prototype was like you were a static thing and it was in first person and you were just it was just like kind of a mini game. You're both trying to splatter a bunch of ink. And then it sort of iterated and became this thing where it's like, well, if you're both racing around this area, how do you like fend someone off who might be trying to paint your area? And it's like, okay, well, then we need some sort of offense defense thing. It feels like it organically grew out of that instead of just being like they started with a shooter and thought, how could we Nintendo-ize a shooter? Like, I don't think that's the approach they took.
No, and I also like to think that they were just like sitting in there in a meeting trying to figure out what do we do with this until somebody's like, what if you were a kid? And then or a squid. And then hold on guys, stick with me. What if you could become a kid again?
Back and forth.
Yeah. It's like, what if you become a squid again? No, Bill, that's too far.
We haven't done anything with that engine we used for Mario Sunshine for the flood in a long time.
I enjoy the idea that they're trying to create. And first off, I appreciate anybody who tries to create a Mario timeline first, above all else. But the idea that Splatoon is the Mario fails outcome of Mario Sunshine has cracked me up.
It's the best. Like when they release the Mushroom Kingdom Historia. In like 10 years, that'll be like the branching timeline. Right.
And honestly, life goal, I want to contribute to that. I want to have a credit somewhere on the Mushroom Kingdom Historia. But yeah, I think that game's pretty great. I haven't played. I feel like I don't need to play it every day though. I'm getting to the point where I feel like it's a lot of the same stuff. The same problems keep cropping up. Like the matchmaking is abysmal.
Yeah.
There is. Yeah, like you'll be on a team against like 3 level 20s, and you're just like with a bunch of like level 4s or whatever, and nobody has an idea what they're doing. Like, hey guys, let's try to advance some territory. Like, no, we're just gonna go try to shoot some guys. Like, it's not like this game. And so that really, really needs to get fixed because, like in Call of Duty or whatever, levels don't mean that much. In this game, they absolutely do. Like, the higher level equipment is just better than the lower level equipment, and that I think that's one of the I mean we can talk about like the content and the map cycling and all that. That's fine. I think there's plenty of content in the game, but the balancing needs work. And I hope that as they're sort of shuffling out these free maps and weapons and stuff like that, they also take a look at some of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like there aren't enough people playing that you can always get matched with people of equal level, but it seems like they're matching you up fast enough that it's like I don't mind waiting an extra 10 seconds to be matched with like people of my level instead of being instantly matched with people that are like 10 levels above me,
Right. And I will say, in the game's favor, it is possible you can have like this, everybody is level 20 or whatever, but you can still theoretically win.
Yeah.
Like it is chaotic enough, like Mario Kart, where even the best players might not necessarily be enough to get the win on any given day, or if the team seems to be clicking or something like that. So there's a lot more of like a random chaotic element, which is cool, but they could still do a little bit more with the matchmaking to make it a little bit less reliant on that.
And the real problem with the matchmaking, from my perspective, is that it's too fast. Because during the multiplayer beta and during my review time, I had plenty of time to play Squid Jump. And now I have no time to play Squid Jump. Every time I look into a game, it's just like, you're matched. I'm like, damn it.
This is the first time I've ever heard anybody say, what's great? This game is great, except I can play it
I can't play the stupid minigame they put in while you wait. Yeah.
Are you never happy?
Nope. Well, I'm a reviewer, so it's my job to be unhappy. Have you been playing anything else of note?
I'll tell you, I'm starting to kind of get into that point where I'm like, none of the new games are really interesting me that much. I don't really want to spend the money on them, so I've been playing a lot more of the free-to-play stuff on my phone. So I've still been playing Marvel Future Fight. They just put out the Guardians of the Galaxy update, so you get the Guardians of the Galaxy, plus they fix a lot of other things. They just little random odds and ends that make it a better game. There's still some weird stuff in there I wish they changed, but by and large, it's definitely one of the better free-to-play games out there, especially if you ever had like any sort of affinity or feeling for Ultimate Alliance or anything like that, because this is as close we're going to get. There's no way they're going to do a new Ultimate Alliance, not with Disney running the show. So this, if you want a new Ultimate Alliance, download Future Fight on your phone. That's about as good as it's going to get.
Oh, you're ruining people's dreams right now.
I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. The other thing, and this happened on a whim, and I'm going to say it because this is the only way it's ever going to get mentioned on Shack News or anywhere, because it's really not worth talking about, but I feel like I have to. And that is, I started playing the Sonic Dash Angry Birds crossover.
What?
Wait, what?
What?
So apparently, yeah. So we have Sonic the Hedgehog and Angry Birds. These are two brands that appeal to basically the same demographic, right? And neither one is quite as hot as it used to be. So they decided, here's what we'll do: we'll take two cooling off brands, two failing brands, and we'll put them together in the hopes that this will be the jump start that gets people back. So you run. So and listeners don't know. I have this huge affinity. I love terrible ideas. Okay, this was one of the worst. So I had to download it and I started playing it. And here's the thing: Sonic Dash is actually pretty good endless runner, as those things go. I would go as far as say it's probably the best or only good Sonic game out there right now. But what's interesting is that you collect these tokens and you unlock an Angry Bird. It's the red one. He's got like a sword and a shield or whatever. It's not worth thinking about. And so I'm like, how can they run because they don't have legs? And so I got my answer. They hop. They're hopping very quickly.
Yeah, that totally makes it. Why not?
Yeah. But they're still doing all the other Sonic stuff. It's a completely cosmetic, but you just get this dumb hopping red bird.
How long do you suppose it'll be before the corruption of the Sonic fan base infects Angry Birds and we get weird Angry Birds porn and weird Angry Birds Christian art?
I guarantee you.
the two poles of Sonic fan art.
It's in feminist study you call it the virgin whore dichotomy. In Sonic, it's the Jesus porn dichotomy.
Yeah, yeah. Sonic is either a very devout Christian or just having sex with everybody.
It's like, hey, I think there's Shrek is pregnant with Sonic or something like that. I don't get
what the hell?
Internet. Yeah, no, this is stuff that exists.
Don't search for any of this.
No, please. I'm saying this as a public service. It's out there so you can avoid it.
We know it exists. We don't have to go into how. We know.
Right.
Anyway.
It's gonna pop up in a chatty thread. I just know it.
Yeah.
It's gonna spawn, all sorts of discussions. So
I've discussions, quote unquote.
Yeah, just I had sort of a run of finishing games, which was really fulfilling because I never do that anymore. But within a span of 2 days, I finished 3 games, and they were all games that I had been playing for a while, and I was close-ish to the end of. But I'm not going to talk about all of them in detail. But I finished Danganronpa. I don't know.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know.
I'm throwing a dart at a dartboard. That's that's the best I can do. Which got kind of crazy there at the end as these sort of high concept. It's like a high concept horror film basically in the form of an adventure game. But the one that I really want to talk about, I also finished Monument Valley, which was good and worth playing. But I didn't feel the need to get the DLC after I finished the main campaign. I'm just okay, I feel like I've gotten what I needed out of that. But the one I really want to recommend is Counter Spy, which I had heard people saying, oh, this is really good, and I didn't really think about it. But it's been sitting on my Vita forever. It was free for PS Plus, I don't even know when, months and months ago. Mm. And I sort of experimented with it a little bit, but I got hardcore into it for a day and a half and just sped through the entire thing. And it's really, really good. People should try it out. It's procedurally generated levels. So when you go through, you kind of never do the same thing twice. And there's just different kinds of challenges. You have to point your gun at the captain to lower the threat level and things like that. So it's really good. I highly recommend it. Everybody should check it out if you haven't gotten a chance to already. So
one of those good games that we saw at the IndieCade booth at E3 last year. So hoping to find the next one of those next week.
Yeah. You've got the IndieCade appointment, I think. So you're gonna have to tell us what is worth playing. So speaking of that that leads us neatly into our E3 discussions. Let's open up with doing a quick overview of the different press conferences, what we expect to see out of each of them. We can go in chronological order, I suppose. First is Bethesda on Sunday night. I'm skipping over Nintendo World Championships and things like that. But yeah, first is Bethesda on Sunday night. So obviously, Fallout has to be their big thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think
I actually am surprised that they did not say that announcement for Sunday.
It's surprising, but it makes me think. I mean, maybe this is wishful thinking, but it makes me think that they must have like plans to show off significantly more of it. I'm thinking like, oh, they need to have like a gameplay demo, like a lengthy, like, okay, now we're walking through a town, now we're having this is how we accept a quest, and this is how combat
Well, we
works.
do keep seeing tentative dates, like tentative 2015 release dates, as in
Yes.
like almost
I'm
done.
totally on board. I mean, again, maybe this is wishful thinking, but like I'm totally on board with the hope, at least, that that October 23rd, I think it was, leak is correct. Because one, thematically it makes sense, or maybe it was 20-some, I don't know. But thematically it makes sense because it was the date the bombs drop, which I just kind of like as like a cool thematic thing. It falls on a Friday, which isn't the usual video game release day, but whatever. And I would just really enjoy, Fallout filling my October. So hopefully that is true. It's been in development for long enough that it couldn't be all that surprising. So what do you think they show of Fallout? What do you think they need to show?
At least like 10 minutes of gameplay, probably a live demo if possible.
I mean, the Bethesda show is it an hour or an hour and a half? I feel like it's pretty lengthy, and we pretty much only know about Fallout and probably Doom. They're obviously going to show more than that, but if we only know about 2 games, it seems like the games that they do show have to like take a.
They have their Melee
long
TF2 type game, which now that I have Battleborn on the brain, I can't think of the name because it's something similar to that. It's I think it's Battlecry or something like that, but it's basically your steampunk Melee TF2 type game. So they're showing that as well. Like that's supposed to be out next year.
Yeah. So and of course there's always rumors about like Dishonored 2 or whatever that studio's been working on if it's not Dishonored. Things like that. Mainly, we don't know much about Bethesda. They've been very secret, and that's why it's kind of surprising that they didn't say Fallout, because I don't know if they just felt like the hot breath of leaks like going down their back.
They've been very good about keeping secrets. Like I was bumping into people during Judges Week, and I had people going, "Wait, so did you hear anything about Fallout?" I go, "Wait, don't you know?"
Yeah, I mean, like we've heard whispers for years, but it's never been anything confirmed, and like that was the assumption was, okay, Bethesda's holding a huge event, they're going to have this thing, but they could have easily saved that trailer, which again is why I think they have to be devoting a good chunk of like gameplay time, and that was just hey, we're acknowledging this thing exists. Come back and watch.
They're going to devote a chunk of time to Doom, because Doom's been like on the table since last year, and the only thing anyone's seen of it was like this super top secret thing at QuakeCon, and I think it's finally time to do a little
and I mean,
more
I'm
of
not that optimistic for Doom. I feel like they know that Fallout is their big thing. They have to know that's their. I mean, even just judging by the internet reaction last week, people just freaked the fuck out. So like,
they're going to start a CGI Rock.
Yeah.
CGI Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah. And there's a dog in it.
That would get me on board.
I'm going to speed these things along a little bit because I don't want to run out of time for our user-suggested topics.
I do want to raise one quick question, though. I think they need to show a release date for Fallout. Do you think they're gonna? And if they don't, do you think it still comes out this year?
I think
they will.
I'm betting it comes out this year, so I think they will have a date. But if it's not coming out this year, then they're not gonna put a date on it. They'll put a coming in 2016 or something like that.
It's been a development long enough where I think they can make this year pretty easily.
Yeah, I would think so. I hope so.
That's what I'm hoping to see as a release date.
And the trailer, it was a trailer, so,
Which, by the way,
put stock in it as you will.
I thought it looked good.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. I mean, it looked to this generation as Fallout 3 looked to last generation.
Yeah.
It looked fine.
It
And
looks
actually,
fine.
I saw like a screenshot comparison, and it's actually much more colorful than
Yeah.
the grays and browns.
Also good.
But at any rate, I've completely lost my train of thought about where I was going with Fallout. Whatever. Couldn't have been that important. Let's move on. Microsoft is next, I believe, right? Yeah, Microsoft in the morning. Yes.
I see a whole lot of Halo. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah,
Oh,
I've literally got 3 appointments for Halo, and they tell me that each of them are going to be unique. So they're definitely blowing it out with Halo. They made sort of an odd announcement yesterday. I think this is probably the easiest way to lead into what we expect from them. They made an odd announcement that Crackdown, Scalebound, and Quantum Break, none of those are going to be there. They're saving all of them for Gamescom. Those are 3 of the, handful of exclusive that we knew about. So sort of the optimistic view is, wow, they must just have such a jam-packed show that they couldn't fit those things in. That's the sort of fan people who love Microsoft, like that's what you're hoping. There's also the why would what else are they filling all this time with? They're probably going to devote the entire show to games because they've been very persistent about doing that since they got so much criticism about splitting their time between entertainment or devices. So they've got a solid hour and a half to devote to games. I'm sure there's plenty of third party in there, but what else first party do we think is coming besides Halo?
Forza.
I mean, yeah.
Rise of the Tomb Raider. Those are the 2 big ones, obviously. And from there, this is probably gonna be the time that we get Gears of War, and in some form, whether it's.
I feel like they do a dual thing. Like they have the Gears of War. They might not do it in this order, but one order or the other. They have the Gears of War 4 or whatever you call it. Gears of War :
Gears of 4. There we go.
Yeah, Gears of 4. Yeah, sure. Why not? Army of 2, Gears of 4. They have the Gears of 4 trailer, and then they're like, and relive the classics, and then they show the trailer for the
Yeah. The Marcus Phoenix collection. It will be called
since we're naming all of our collections after the protagonist now.
Yeah, the Master Chief, the Nathan Drake, the Marcus Phoenix.
Yeah, exactly. The big beefy sausage for a face collection.
He's a hot dog.
So yeah, I mean, Gears of War seems obvious. They have to show something for it. I'm kind of hoping that they show a new IP that's more kid friendly. I've basically given up hope on a new Viva Pinata, but I kind of want to see them at least try to appeal to somebody besides 16-year-olds.
I think this is the year they pull the trigger on Battletoads.
Really?
I'm not saying
what does that
shouldn't.
even look like though? What does modern Battletoads even look like?
I don't know, and I don't really care, but I think they're going to do it because there's enough misplaced nostalgia for Battletoads that it will happen. And
the way to do it right would be like a 2D HD, like the same basic art style and gameplay style as the classic, because I don't feel like that's a series that translates to 3D at all. I don't see how it would.
No.
It'd have to be one of those.
They'll do it that way.
If they pull it off, and there's some sort of amazing Metroid Prime transition where they just translate it perfectly to 3D, I'll eat my hat. Why not? We'll just have everyone offering to eat hats.
First-person Battletoads.
Ozzy has notably offered to eat his hat, and we'll get to that later of his chances of hat eating. Anyway, so that's Microsoft. EA and Ubisoft. I'm just going to pair them together. Do we think there's anything sort of big and surprising coming out of either of them?
There's going to be another. We're going to probably see that Assassin's Creed.
I mean, yeah, we got to see.
Is that surprising? No.
I would love it if
they'll do something weird. Here's my prediction for Ubisoft. They'll do something weird. They'll just remember when they had laser tag in the middle, and Joel McHale had to half-heartedly pretend it was cool and be like, "Yeah, yes."
Remember how that never came out?
Yeah, no, I don't. As far as I know, it never did.
We're supposed to have highlights of old E3 press conferences going up later today on Shaq, and one of the ones that I pointed out was that horrible Konami press conference from 2010, where it just turned into awkward dancing and AV stuff not working, and luchadors on stage just starting to chop the hell out of each other. And it's good. I feel like Ubisoft might be something like that, but
Yeah, and they'll bring out Yves Guillemot to say one, 2 sentences, and then they'll put him back. EA, I feel like they need to blow out the Star Wars thing. Sorry?
Will people be dancing to the Tetris theme again?
Maybe. EA, I feel like they need to blow out Star Wars. They obviously have to show off Battlefront, but they've got this huge exclusivity contract, and they're obviously going to do more with it than just Battlefront.
It's going to be wall-to-wall Star Wars. You'll get your sizzle reel of Madden and FIFA and all that stuff. That's whatever.
No, it won't be a sizzle reel. It'll be like they bring out an NFL guy to be like, this year's Madden is better than ever. And
get Marshawn Lynch.
Good catch, man. And they'll like have the fake banter because they always do that.
I would love to see Marshawn Lynch, actually,
Yes.
to Ozzy's point. I would love to see him come out and just be like, I'm just here because I don't want to get...
I don't know.
He
don't
loves
care.
games. He's a good gamer. He's a good gamer. So.
You see the article about him being in the new Call of Duty? It's one of the funniest things.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
That's a natural fit.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Yeah.
He's really funny in that article.
As you said, wall-to-wall Star Wars. I think that's what they have to do. They have to just be like, EA, Star Wars, one of the biggest properties, and there's a movie that's coming out that actually looks pretty good, and we have like this Battlefront game sort of leading the pack of our Star Wars offerings. Yeah, they have to.
They also
finally,
do have an MMO out there that they'll probably be paying attention to also.
Oh yeah, that's right, a Star Wars MMO. They might talk about that a little too. An MMO that I guess doesn't count as like canon anymore, does it?
I don't think they'd be supporting it anymore if it wasn't canon.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it at the very least they're treating it like like it belongs in its own playground, and BioWare has a lot of freedom to just like, because it's what, like 10,000 years before.
I appreciated that BioWare went back to Revan for the last update. Like that was a cool little thing for like all the old KOTOR fans out there.
Yeah. So finally. Well, no, not finally, because we have
not finally.
On Tuesday morning.
A couple more.
Yeah, not last or least.
Shortest E3 ever.
Yeah. We have Sony at in the evening on Monday. Their press conferences are sort of hard to gauge. I did this foolish exercise this week of rewatching every single press conference from previous years. And it was dumb. It was, but having rewatched Sony's, I feel like I don't know. Theirs are sort of like first of all, they're the longest. They're always 2 hours long, and theirs aren't as kind of predictable, I think, as like Microsoft and EA and all those. They sometimes just introduce super weird things in the middle of their press conference. And they always have sort of a segment in the middle where they like talk numbers. They did that very briefly last year, but they still did it. It's like a weird little tempo break, and I don't know. I feel like the pace of Sony was kind of off last year, and that might be that Jack Tretton is gone. Jack Tretton was a great presenter, the best of all the E3 presenters that I've seen. God bless Jack. We still love you. But what do we expect to see at Sony this year? Obviously, Uncharted 4 is their headliner, even though it's not coming out this year. What are we expecting to see?
They will show something of Ratchet and Clank, of course.
Yeah. I mean, that Ratchet it's not a remake per se.
Yeah, I don't get what that thing is, but it looks fun.
It's sort of a weird. I mean, I love Ratchet games, but it's sort of a weird, hard to define thing because it's not remaking the original, but it's not an entirely new game. It's sort of like we sort of went back and revised the original in a lot of ways. So I don't know how much stage time they can give something that's sort of got a foot in the past. You know what I mean?
You're going to see so much VR. There's going to be so much Morpheus there.
See, I'm wondering about that because how does Sony show VR? How do you show? Do you just show people's reactions?
I think you should just have a guy wearing a Morpheus headset stumbling around the stage. I think that's good enough.
There you go. I mean, speaking of VR, we should go back and just mention that Microsoft, this Oculus conference that took place yesterday, they announced that they can stream to Xbox. So, are we going to have, dueling VR presentations? Microsoft devotes some time to Oculus, and Sony devotes some time to Morpheus,
When I think of powerful machines that can run the Oculus hardware, I think of Xbox.
Yeah.
I can barely run 900p without crying.
Exactly. But I'm wondering if, that's is that this year's Battleground? Are we going to see that, when we're all, kind of looking back and taking stock of the themes of this year's E3? Is VR going to be...
the virtual wars are upon us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's the virtual wars, and Nintendo will be like, the Virtual Boy 2, we're in the...
Yeah. Oh, did you see I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. You see the rumor that Nintendo was going to create their own VR headset and call it the Virtual Boy?
That's
That's never going to happen.
Yeah, no,
It'll happen in 10 years.
One of their
It'll be Nintendo's typically we're late to the party on everything.
They're not gonna like bring back the specter of one of their biggest failures ever. I did mention that we'd bring up Ozzy's potential to eat its hat. There are, rumors circulating that The Last Guardian will be shown, and Ozzy put in an article, games we will not see at E3, and he actually used the proverbial "I will eat my hat."
I am still. I'm slightly less so, but I'm still adamant that we're not seeing The Last
it's
Guardian.
sort of where there's smoke, there's fire thing. Like I think it's starting to concern you because it's like, wait a minute, there's a lot of rumors now.
The thing is, now they're doing it to me again. This happened last year, where everybody was talking about we're going to see Last Guardian, and
every year Ozzy's like, we're definitely seeing it this year, and I will eat my hat, and then you don't. And this year he's like, that's it, we're not seeing it.
Ozzy, I wouldn't worry. They can't show what doesn't exist. It's off playing on the same farm.
Real.
Yeah, it's off playing the same farm as Half-Life 3. And they're all happy there.
I will just say, if they show it, I have no particular opinion on whether or not they're showing it. But when I think back to the previous trailers, I think like that definitely looks to me like a PS3 game now. And they, when they whenever they represent it, whether it's this year or next year or never, like they need to show that all of this time off has done something. You know what I mean?
I think all this time
that it looks
off,
significantly better.
That they just threw it all out and started over. They might have started from scratch.
Maybe, yeah.
Which might be part of the reason we didn't see it last year.
Yeah.
I think if they show it, it will be a very brief trailer and not any actual gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Like,
it's going to be at least another 2 years in development.
Yeah.
Get downright Falloutian by the time we're done. So this is supposed to be an hour-long show, and we've already gone like 40 minutes. Let's move on to Nintendo. Nintendo is coming on Tuesday morning. They're doing their... I think they've done this the last 2 years in a row. They sort of eschew a press conference altogether and do a streaming digital presentation. I actually have an editorial up right now, I think, basically arguing that Nintendo is sort of leading the way. Like, this is the way of the future. This is how everyone's going to do things eventually, because it's just so much more cost-effective to have a streaming presentation where you're reaching, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people at a very low cost, rather than spending tons and tons of money just to satisfy like the 1,000 people you can fit inside a stadium or whatever.
And you still get that buzz anyway. You still get
they're getting the buzz no matter what, because the journalists are sitting at home watching the thing because that's the only way you can cover it.
Well, instead of squealing in a giant theater, you're squealing in the privacy of your own home.
Yeah, and I'm sure they just fill those things with fans now anyway, because I can't speak for every journalist, but when I have gone to those, I have made a point to not be like, woo, because I just don't think it's professional. But at any rate, yeah, Nintendo's doing their digital presentation thing this year. Again, because of my sort of features this week where I've reviewed last year's conferences, I noticed that Nintendo's, at the time it felt exciting because I like Nintendo stuff, I've been accused of being a Sony fanboy and a Microsoft fanboy, but I'm like, bitch, please. I'm like a Nintendo fanboy, if anything. But so like it was exciting for me at the time watching this. But when I go back and watch it, I'm like, wow, they really didn't talk a lot about things we didn't already know. Like they shared more details, and they had neat little developer interview segments about games that we already knew about, and they shared more details or release dates or things like that. But there wasn't a lot of like brand new announcement type stuff. I think Mario Maker was supposed to be a brand new announcement, but it got leaked like hours before.
But last year was a Splatoon announcement, wasn't it? Also?
That's true. Splatoon was announced. I guess. Maybe because I underestimated Splatoon up until I got my hands on it. That didn't strike me as huge at the time.
And we got the Codename Steam announcement last year. That was
but that wasn't during the Nintendo Direct.
No, that's
the weird thing. They had a separate Tuesday night event after the show floor closed in a theater that's sort of upstairs in the E3 Center. And they had done that the year before for Pokemon, and they didn't announce the Pokemon game. They just announced, like, we're introducing a new type of Pokemon. It was when they announced the Fairy type. Like, they've reserved a whole thing to announce Fairy-type Pokemon. And then they're like, maybe we should do something bigger with this theater space. And then they presented Codename Steam.
Yeah, they double-dipped last year, because the day before they did the Smash Brothers thing, which was pretty amazing. They announced Pac-Man, which was such a big thing, because they're just like, okay, we have, like, the 4 biggest mascots of late 80s gaming, like, right here.
And this year they're having the Smash Brothers Nintendo Direct before E3. They're going to have the Treehouse presentations all throughout E3. They have the Nintendo World Championship. I feel like Nintendo, more than anyone, I think this is the smart way to do it. It grabs headlines all throughout the show rather than packing them all into an hour. They disperse their announcements over a very wide area. You know, that they have those Treehouse interviews, and news will come out of that, and you know that isn't like a spontaneous thing. You know, they planned that Bill Trinen will ask this question, and then the developer will say, "Yes, we are developing blah 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 blah." You know, so I feel like it's very carefully orchestrated, and they grab headlines all throughout. So whatever we see at this Nintendo Direct on Tuesday morning, it's not going to be the whole story for Nintendo, not even close. So I kind of assume that it'll be a more casual atmosphere, and they won't be like bam announcement, bam announcement, bam announcement. It might be like more of a chill out and watch these developers talk about their games, you know.
And I think because of the way it's structured, I don't think, even though they've already said like countless times, like Zelda's not going to be at E3, I think they will at least offer some sort of update.
Yeah, they have to. Like that's what in my piece for Nintendo, I basically said like, you know that at some point Shigeru Miyamoto is gonna like let slip quote unquote something during a roundtable, because he does that every year. Like every year there's at least one headline where oh, Miyamoto just like casually mentioned that this thing's in development.
Well, to be fair, who's gonna stop him?
Yeah, like what are they gonna do? Fire him? Like no. So yeah, any other expectations from you guys for Nintendo?
Star Fox, for sure.
Yeah, Star Fox. I think
I'm looking forward to Star Fox. I know that I feel like Nintendo regards Star Fox as like a C-lister, you know.
I said B-lister in my article yesterday.
There is like a B, you know, like it's not like Zelda and Mario for me, but it's up there. It's really good.
Like, Star Fox is what they Star Fox.
Yeah, I would love a new Star Fox. Star Fox is what they put off for like the tail end of a console cycle. They're like, okay, we've exhausted everything, so here's Star Fox.
So how weird is it that they're developing it for Wii U? Does that mean that Wii U is on its last legs? Is this the end of?
Well, we already known that. As soon as we got the new console announcement a few months ago, then you kind of knew that the Wii U's on borrowed time.
I mean, they're not. I mean, they're probably going to talk about the NX next year. They might launch it next year. I think they talk about it next year for the first time, and they might launch it next year, but it'll be either next year or 2017. So if Star Fox launches this year, it's still not the last gasp of the Wii U. They still have to have something for next year. You know?
They have to do something with Metroid before the Wii U goes away.
I don't know. There have been generations where they just skip Metroid altogether.
Well, there have also been generations where they skip Star Fox altogether, and we're still getting that.
That's true.
And there's been rumors that Retro's got something for E3.
And they're not going to.
I mean, more than rumors. Didn't Retro just tease like, hey, we're getting excited for E3, and it's like that means you're showing something. We know.
Yeah. Watch this weekend. They put on their Facebook page like a picture with 3 bananas on it, and we're like, oh, damn it!
God damn it!
Honestly, I want to see them do another Donkey Kong Country for 2 reasons. 1, I love Donkey Kong Country. 2, the reactions are hilarious.
That really is true, that the reactions are going to be kind of out of proportion with something like, God damn it, we're going to get another amazing Donkey Kong Country game.
Oh, damn it. Stop making amazing Donkey Kong games, guys.
Yeah. And I think I also wonder too if that's not just them messing with people. Like I would love it if somehow they like they zoom in on like some fur or something like that. And it's like, oh God, Donkey Kong, and then like Strong Bad's there or something. But then they zoom back out and it's like, oh, it's an alien and it's Metroid, yay! That would probably everybody would lose their minds. I don't.
Or like Samus wearing a bear suit or something.
That would be funny.
Samus has to collect all of the bananas.
Yeah.
All right, so.
I bet you're gonna see more Amiibo stuff, and you're probably gonna get lots of people complaining about.
There's rumors that Amiibo will work with Skylanders, which
I want to talk about that. Yeah.
Here's the weirdest thing. When going back and knowing about that rumor existed, I went back and watched last year's Nintendo conference, and Reggie said something that kind of implied that, and I don't know if he was just wrong, but he basically said it was like the kind of non-committal promise that is kind of technically true. Where he said something about, he was talking about Amiibos, and then he said, and Skylanders and Disney Infinity will have special functionality just on Wii U, implying that it had something to do with the NFC stuff, but it didn't at all. Like, the exclusive functionality was just like, oh, you can look at the map on your gamepad or whatever. Like, it wasn't anything having to do with the NFC figures, but he spoke about it in the context of presenting the Amiibo NFC figures. So it's kind of weird that, looking back at it, Reggie kind of, implied something that wasn't technically true, but he didn't say it strongly enough that I could call it a misstatement.
And this
Also,
year too, you have
about,
the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. Talk about total pipe dreams that'll never happen. Imagine Amiibo working with Disney Infinity, like just whether it's like
Oh
offering a
man,
bonus or anything like or
put
anything else
Mario
like that.
in the toy box with like some Jedi and Marvel characters
Holy crap! That would make that the
and
definitive
Rapunzel.
version of the game to buy right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You'd never need another game at that point. Like that'd be it.
So, any other Nintendo predictions / Nintendo dreams?
They'll probably do some new Pokemon thing. I don't care.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
They're probably gonna.
They're on a yearly production cycle for Pokemon now. They do
Yeah.
they do the new game and then the revamp and then the new game and then the revamp.
Well, they have Mystery Dungeon coming out this fall. I think that'll probably be their big one, but I wouldn't be surprised if they say something about the next.
Is
Pokemon.
Mystery Dungeon becoming like part of the cycle? Like they've got a 3-year cycle now instead of a 2-year?
You got me.
I don't know. Maybe.
It just feels like there've been so many of those.
I think we do. If we don't get the Amiibo work in Skylanders or Disney Infinity thing, which is a long shot, even though you got the PR people for Skylanders being sort of cagey about it, I think that we will see some kind of use of those figures outside of just unlocking stuff in games. I think that
one would hope.
I think they will. If it's not this year, it'll be next year. They've got to do something where it's like this is the thing where if you put Mario down, you've got Mario in there. If you put Little Mac down, you've got Little Mac in there. You can play as this character in this game. What kind of game that is, I don't know, but I think that's something I would not be surprised to see them do.
Okay. I have predictions, but I'm actually going to save it for our first user-suggested segment.
So we have one more conference after Nintendo.
Oh, that's right, the PC conference. Oh, how could I forget?
No, I was actually talking about Square Enix.
Square Enix. Oh, who cares?
Yeah, I was going to say last and definitely least.
That's a sad state of affairs. I don't know. Square Enix. I bet they show Final Fantasy 15. I bet they tease Kingdom Hearts 3 with
Would
another.
they even bother doing a 1-hour thing if they weren't going to show Final Fantasy 15?
I mean, they have to. They have to. But I think the more surprising thing would be how they tease Kingdom Hearts 3. If they tease it with gameplay, if they tease it with just another trailer that shows cinematic type things, because that's been so long coming, and the outcry for it is so loud.
Well, and they had the trailer last year, so I wouldn't be surprised if they show a little bit more of it.
Yeah, I mean it would make sense.
But
I thought you were referring to the PC conference, which I don't even know what to expect because it's so weird and they're doing it for the first time.
Well, before we get to that, briefly going back to Square Enix, two other things that they'd show. Just Cause 3, they'd probably show more of that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And they're definitely going to show something of Deus Ex.
Yeah.
Which that's probably their biggest game going in.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that Square Enix is not just Japanese RPGs anymore. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, Deus Ex and Just Cause. Like they have Western development things going on now.
And for some pretty good ones too.
Yeah.
But
there's actually there's some sort of event after that with this. I don't know if anyone remembers, but they made this weird offshoot company called Shinra. Like they named themselves after the most sinister company in any of their.
We're literally murdering the planet. Here's our streaming game service.
And they're like, let's name our little offshoot company after that. And they're having something, and I don't know what it is, but I'm curious enough that I'm going. They're having some sort of separate special little thing where they're supposedly telling us stuff. So who knows what's going to come out of that. I guess I will find out in less than a week. So do we want to talk at all about Square Enix or more about the PC conference? Like, what do we expect out of PC?
I think the PC conference is notable because Blizzard said that they'll be there, and Blizzard hasn't done E3 in a long time. Like that's true. That's a big deal right there.
And I think with Phil Spencer at the helm of Xbox, I think they say this all the time, but Xbox is trying to brand itself as more of a this is Microsoft gaming is the Xbox brand. So between the streaming to PC and the Oculus functionality and things like that, it seems like they're kind of trying to blur the lines a little bit. And we know Microsoft will be at the PC conference, so they're probably gonna touch on that some more too.
Yeah. So, and hopefully we'll see more of Star Citizen as well, because that's been on a lot of people's wish lists for the last couple of years. And
oh yeah, I mean if you're making like a short list of the PC exclusives that have to be there, that's got to be on the list.
Yes.
I don't know if they go heavy on multi-platform because by that point all of the other companies will have blown their multi-platform, announcements at their own things.
But that's why it's so notable that this thing even exists, because when you think about it, we haven't had this many PC exclusives in a long time. I mean, stuff like XCOM 2 and like Those games, like, it's pretty
I'm
amazing.
I'm a little bummed by XCOM 2 being PC exclusive. I need to get a better PC.
That's the solution, Steve.
I just loved the old one on my console so much, but I'll live. I'll deal with it. I'll bury my sorrows in Fallout.
Maybe they'll bring it to iPad eventually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, probably.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Think we'll see more Overwatch?
Yes, I would love to see more Overwatch.
I
don't
know
Blizzard's
it's
going to be there. We're definitely going to see more Overwatch.
Well, I don't know if Blizzard would just go and show more StarCraft. Like,
well, Legacy of the Void's coming out, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, they are. I mean, I think they show both. They show.
But I'd
they show
love
some,
to see Overwatch again. Like,
they show some StarCraft, but that's an expansion. That's not a whole new thing.
Right.
Overwatch is their next big thing. And
You know what would
they've
get
been
me?
behind the curtain here. They've been like crazy proactive with releasing new trailers for characters for Overwatch. We've gotten a new one like every day or something for the last.
They got 9 characters,
like
so they got a
several
lot
weeks.
more. They have a few more to go.
Yeah, so like it feels like every time I check my inbox, it's like, oh, there's another character trailer. So
And it always looks so good.
They've definitely been ramping up into something. And I
What would get
assume
me to
that
buy a
that's
PC though? Like if Blizzard's there, what gets me to buy a PC? Warcraft 4. Like that's
you
it.
Want,
I will
you
go
want
get a
the
PC.
job's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
I
Warcraft.
realize we ran long, Steve, but we do have time for the Amusatron question, I believe, because that fits right in with what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
I think we can touch on both questions extremely quickly, but the predictions one from Amusatron, he said, I want you guys each to make 2 predictions about what E3 will reveal that hasn't been announced so far. The first prediction will be based on all the information you've already got to work with and are fairly certain will come to pass. We can't technically do that because we know some things. But the second prediction is your long shot, the thing you're really, really hoping will happen, but have no definitive information to indicate that it will. So Brian, as our canary in the coal mine, as our guy who does not actually know any of this
I
stuff,
know nothing.
let's start with
nothing.
you. 2 predictions. One is sort of what you think is going to happen. One is what you hope is going to happen.
So what I think is going to happen, I've already said a lot of stuff I think is going to happen. I think you're going to see a lot more stuff that we already know is out there. I would not be surprised. Honestly, I think there's been. I'm going to kind of double up on this one. I think we will see more free-to-play stuff on the consoles, and I think that one of the things we will see, based on there being enough smoke for me to think there's fire, is Marvel Heroes on the PlayStation or Xbox. I don't care. It's going to be one of them.
I hope so.
And that's also the one that's kind of my long shot hope. But here's my real long shot hope. We're seeing a lot more conversation about Mega Man lately with the cartoon, with the anniversary or the Legacy Collection or whatever they're calling it. That you've got some people who are already thinking, wouldn't it be cool? Do you think they're working on something new? And idiot that I am, my heart's getting my hopes are getting up. My heart is beginning to soar. Like maybe this is the year we see a new Mega Man thing. Maybe that's what Nintendo pulls out. It's not going to happen. But if it does,
I think it might happen next year.
I'll be shrieking in my living room. Oh, there's gonna be a game based on the cartoon, but that's not what I want.
I think since the 30th anniversary is in 2017, I think you'll see an announcement next year.
I don't know. They have a tendency to do weird things for they don't always nail the anniversaries. I think was it the 25th that passed by and it was
the 25th is where they basically canceled Mega Man Legends.
Yeah, they did nothing. Yeah, it was a bad year for Mega Man fans.
And the 20th was the one where we got the giant collection that is still in my GameCube collection to this day. Absolutely love it.
And they announced a new collection, which is not incredibly useful because it's just old games, but it sounds like I know Frank Cifaldi. I used to work with him, and the dude knows old games, and so it sounds like the people leading this project are smart and passionate.
I'll buy it. I don't care.
So so Ozzy, what are your pretty sure is going to happen and long shot hopes?
So if we've been following trends for the last year, this is what I'm pretty sure is going to happen. We're going to see at least one franchise that's typically been multi-platform go console exclusive and piss everybody off. We're going to see a case like Rise of the Tomb Raider last year. We're going to see a case like Street Fighter V, where something that's always been available everywhere is going to be on one console. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be something big, and it's gonna make a lot of people angry. So that's gonna be one to look out for.
How much do you want to bet it's whatever Platinum's working on?
Aren't they working on?
They've got a new thing coming.
They've got Scalebound, but I feel like they've got something else.
They've teased Vanquish 2.
Oh, okay.
On their Twitter account. So I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, Platinum's done console exclusives before. I mean, they did
Bayonetta,
Wonderful 101,
yeah.
and that turned out okay.
Well, Bayonetta, did do the platform exclusive Switch and did piss people
Actually,
off.
that did piss people off. You're right.
Yeah. So, what's your long shot hope, Ozzy?
Mario Galaxy 3.
Oh,
damn it, you stole mine.
Because the
totally
Wii is pretty much nearing the end. Like, they need to revisit Mario Galaxy because the first two games are still some of the best looking games Nintendo's ever made, and they did that on 480p.
Yeah.
Like, if you get Mario Galaxy 3 on 1080p, it's gonna blow minds. Like,
would you settle for something that wasn't Mario Galaxy but was another free roaming Mario 3D game like that?
Yeah, I mean, like,
It'd be
I think
fine,
Mario
but-
Galaxy 3 is just being used as shorthand for like the
I
next.
would love another Mario Galaxy, but I would settle for something like that.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
wouldn't
like
mind.
Mario 3D Land sort of spun off into its own thing. So when we say Mario Galaxy, we're talking like the successor to the Mario 64 to
Sunshine
to Galaxy like progression, you know.
Like, I wouldn't mind a different type, but we got Mario 3D World, and well, that was our game of the year a couple years ago.
Game
Yeah,
basically
it was
perfect.
really good.
Yeah. I mean,
So yeah,
it'd be treading old water. I want to see them go back into space. Just
since you stole mine, Ozzy, I shouldn't have let you go first. Damn it. I'll say, let's see. For my thing that I think is like fairly realistic, that I think is probably true, the Gears of War thing that we talked about earlier with Microsoft. Like, the timing is right. It's got to be happening. You know, that's got to be one of their things. I had to pick something that I don't actually know for certain, but that's something that I'm like pretty sure. You know, it makes sense. As far as a long shot, I would like to see Nintendo. I would like to see Nintendo bring back Metroid. That's my hopes and dreams, and that I'm classifying that as a long shot. I don't think that's actually going to happen, but I would like you know, the next iteration of Prime, or even just a 2D game, something that takes that series back. Because isn't the last Metroid game we've had that Team Ninja?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I know it has some fans, but it didn't connect with me at all, and so I wanted them to make like a proper, you know, a proper Metroid game. So yeah,
I'd even take a 2D Metroid game on 3DS at this point.
That'd be great.
yeah, anything.
I'd be more interested in that.
I know what my backup prediction was going to be when you said Mario Galaxy 3. I was going to say I have no indication of this happening. I have no particular reason to believe it's happening, but I think Wind Waker 3DS. Like, they've done the, you know, the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask ports. You know, next in line is Wind Waker. You know, just make it
I
happen.
heard Twilight Princess was a consideration for Nintendo, but that's just also probably lunatic.
But I don't like Twilight Princess.
Well, no, nobody does. But
I mean, I like it fine. It had some clever dungeon design, but it's definitely like in the bottom tier of Zelda games for me.
like, hey, you know, it'd be fun, a Zelda game where you play as a wolf.
I don't know where that idea came from. That was so weird. So let's move on to this last question. We can touch on it super quickly. This is from Him Troll. He says, games like Assassin's Creed, The Witcher, and Shadow of Mordor have you playing a master swordsman regularly and fighting a dozen enemies at a time, but it always doesn't work as well as you want it to. So what is the most enjoyable one versus many sword fighting system you've seen in a game?
I think we've all came to a consensus on this before the show. Are we all going with Hyrule Warriors on this one?
Hyrule Warriors is a lot of fun because, I mean, the honest truth is, when you're one guy against a dozen people, the thing that feels good is when you're massively overpowered. Mm-hmm. Assassin's Creed and The Witcher are very technically proficient games where, you know, Assassin's Creed is all about like counter, block, kill, you know, and they've sort of made it easier and easier to just roll from one thing into another and just leave a field of dead bodies. But I feel like the one that makes me feel overpowered of the ones that Himtroll listed is Shadow of Mordor. You know, because once you
eventually,
eventually, I'm thinking end of the game, Talion. Yeah. You know, because once you unlock all your abilities, you're just like slash a guy, roll over, mind control another guy, roll over, make that last guy's head explode. You're just like you're a spinning dervish of death eventually, and that's when it gets fun, and that's why I think when we were talking about this before the show, Hyrule Warriors was classified as fun because you're just always overpowered in that. You're just, like 50 moblins coming towards you, and you just slash your sword once, and they all just fly back. You know.
That was actually a common theme that I saw in the chatty threads about Shadow of Mordor, is that the early part of that game will just rock your face off. Like, you will get killed a lot.
Yeah.
So it takes a while for you to find your...
But isn't that the fun of games, though? Like, for me, I feel like part of the fun of games is when you're when you feel kind of overwhelmed at first, and you have that feeling of progression until you're like, okay, now I'm a badass, and I, like, on some level, I accomplished this, you know?
Well, that's what the great appeal of Dark Souls is.
Yeah, but that's
you're
your
dying
own
all the
personal
time.
that's your own personal skill increasing. That's that's slightly different, you know? Like I love the own personal skill increasing thing. I've told the story on the podcast before that, like, you know, playing Jumpin' Jack Flash and Elite Beat Agents the first time on the easiest mode, I was like, this is impossible. I can't do this, you know? And then weeks later it was like, pff. But I think the the thing that Shadow of Mordor does that isn't really the thing that Dark Souls does is, like, it gives you the illusion of becoming extremely powerful by giving you all these new abilities. So it sort of engenders that feeling in you without actually requiring you to. I mean, you are getting better at the game, but not to the degree that you get better at a game like Dark Souls. You know. So yeah, that was kind of a long ramble.
Hyrule Warriors, catch the fever.
Yeah, I
now on 3DS.
Yeah, Steve's right. We kind of covered that one really quick.
Yeah, I feel like I'm much more likely. They'll show that at Nintendo. That's our other prediction. I feel like I'm more likely to play that on 3DS.
That doesn't count. That was kind of a leak, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was a leak or intentional, but I bet you they show a bunch of new characters and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, they sort of announced Tetra and King of Red Lions.
I've heard Girl Link floating around, which would be cool.
Okay, sure.
I think it's kind of funny that Nintendo's going with this trend of having playable villains. Like, you can play as Ganondorf in Hyrule Warriors, and eventually in Puzzle and Dragon Z you can play as Bowser, and it's like, wait a minute, at that point then what are you fighting?
Yeah,
you're bad guy then.
Smithy.
You're fighting Bowser's minions for some reason.
You're fighting yourself.
Yeah. By the way, don't. I found out this week, when you Google Tetra looking for pictures, the internet is sick. It's a sick place. She's like 11 years old.
You've known the internet is a sick place. We've already established what to not search for on the internet.
So for all of your video game news and tips on what not to Google, checknews.com.
Never Google anything. Just, in fact, don't use it. Don't own a computer.
Don't do it. Lock yourself away in a basement. Anyway, so that's the show. We can quickly go around and talk about what we're doing this weekend, but I feel like for me and Ozzy, the answer is kind of obvious. So, Brian, what are you doing this weekend?
Well, probably going to go see Jurassic World. Looking forward to that. And other than that, just quietly reflecting on the life and times of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, man, rest in peace.
Right? Yeah, one of the greatest of all time.
Why'd you got to bring us down at the end?
No, we're celebrating his life. We're celebrating, but you know, that's but Jurassic World's probably the big thing. I honestly do not have any other plans other than Jurassic World this weekend, so those
good plans.
Yeah, it's, you know, go see some dinosaurs.
I would like to see Jurassic World. I'm not sure when I'm going to have time because my weekend is going to be consisting of finishing packing and going to a family birthday party and then hitting a plane at like 4 a.m. So. You know.
I can't go see Jurassic World because I have to go look at video games.
Yeah, I know. It's a hard life.
When you say it like that.
Ozzy, what are you doing?
Circumstances beyond my control have made it so that I'm moving into a new apartment this weekend at the best possible time. And yet this isn't the worst E3 scheduling conflict I've ever had, because last year my girlfriend booked me to go to Philadelphia for her best friend's wedding. I caught a red eye last Thursday going straight from E3 to LAX, flying to Boston for a layover, getting stuck in Boston, and I don't even remember how I got to Philly.
This is becoming a regular thing. You need to, like, make sure you look up when E3 is and, like, just put in huge letters on a calendar or something so your girlfriend knows.
That doesn't work. I tried that last year. It did not work.
So that is the show. You're going to hear much more from probably me and Ozzy next week because we're going to be having, if you didn't see the announcement on the site, we're going to be having nightly Show Important, our video show.
Yeah, subscribe to Shack News on YouTube because Joe and Andrew are just killing it with Show Important.
Yeah, Show Important is a really fun show, and I'm glad that we're bringing it to E3. They're going to be doing nightly updates with some guests and with us. We're going to come on every once in a while. When we're not writing, we'll try to, like, come on and talk about what we saw that day. It's mainly a Joe and Andrew baby, but if you prefer to listen to things rather than watch them, they're going to be released as sort of special edition Chattycasts, even though the format is going to be different and the hosts are going to be different. But yeah, we'll be on there once in a while, I'm sure. At the very least, on Thursday when all the craziness is over, I think we can probably try to squeeze in. So that is the show, and probably no regular show next week. We'll just have those those nightly shows. So until sometime well after E3, for Brian Carr, Ozzy Mejia, I'm Steve Watts, and we'll see you on Chatty.